right, good morning. Welcome to the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group. Today is August 9th, 2024. And our guest speaker today is our own Walt Glass, who's going to be talking about the job description, how to analyze it to better prepare for your interviews. Please note that we are recording, and today's session will be uploaded to the Career YouTube channel. By participating, you give your consent for your name and picture to appear. Sorry, we do not offer any compensation for that.
Share the PowerPoint.
Am I not sharing? I am not sharing. What happened? When I turned the recording on, I guess it went away. Thank you, Walt. All right. Did that. Okay. Our friend Jeff Morris is recuperating. Walt and I have volunteered to run the show here on Fridays. Just a reminder that Jeff started this shindig back in 2007, is the moderator for CareerDFW and USA.org, and wrote a great book. You ought to check it out. I have a copy. And by the way, I saw Jeff on Friday, and he's doing better. So long road to go, but he is doing better. Actually played cards, walked a few feet down the hall of the facilities in. So we're very optimistic. So if you would continue to keep him in your prayers. All right. Any success stories? Anyone land? Anyone have any good interviews?
I've landed. I got a role it's a contract to hire role at Bank of America. So
Fantastic. Tell us about it.
I'm going to be heading up on the operations side for their technology suite that they have internal to Bank of America. So it's
Very
actually, I just want to talk about it real quick, how it all happened, because I think
Please.
it's important. I'll go back. I've worked at PepsiCo for 25 years, and I was a consultant there for 8 years and got to know this guy really well. We became pretty good friends. And then I converted to being an employee and went to a different organization, and he stayed over in our supply chain group and worked over there for many years. And we kind of didn't, because we were so busy at work, obviously, we really didn't interact as much. Well, I guess about 7 or 8 years ago, he contacted me and said, "Hey, my contract's running out. Do you have any openings in your team?" And I said, "For you, I do. I'll make a role." So I brought him over
Nice.
to my team. Fast forward to June 1st when I got laid off at PepsiCo, and I turned on the open to work in LinkedIn, and he saw that, and he's like, "Hey, Brad, I've got a role here at Bank of America if you're interested." He's actually an employee there now. So I had a couple interviews, and it went real quick. It was pretty much a done deal, but we had to go through, I think, the formalities of the interviews. Now they're doing federal background checks on me. I mean, they're running the gambit on me, so it's going to be like a month before I can actually start, according to the vendor I'm going through. So we'll see. But
Okay. Well, that's fantastic.
My objective there is to actually, get in and provide value to them, obviously, but also look for opportunities to become a permanent employee. So,
Well, we will wish that happens. That's the power of networking, keeping in touch with folks that you've worked with, and that's a testament to that. So congratulations. We hope it turns into a permanent gig.
yeah,
But, is
one
it
of the
full
things,
time?
I'm sorry, one of the things I actually didn't, I don't think I mentioned, but I actually had to let him go back when he was working under me. So that was a little, I guess I guess the point in that is that no matter who your connections are, do not be concerned about reaching out to them or talking with them or getting in touch with them, even if it's somebody you had to let go. Obviously we were on really good terms still, but it was a difficult situation. I mean, I consider him a really good friend of mine, but I kept saying, man, what are you contacting me for? He's like, I owe you. You brought me back. I was gonna be let go at PepsiCo, and you gave me 3 more years there or whatever it ended up being. But so yeah, it was. Don't underestimate any of your connections. Don't ever do that. So
Even if you fired him. I think that's one of the best stories I've ever heard.
yeah,
That's fantastic.
yeah, he's a great guy, really good guy. And
All right. Is this a full-time contract? You'll be full-time
Oh
for
yeah,
6 months or something? Okay.
it's actually 18 months.
18 months. Nice.
So
I think that counts as a landing. Congratulations.
yep.
Golf clap. We'll enjoy your virtual donuts.
Okay, yeah, thanks.
All right. Walt was reminding me that for contract jobs it's donut holes, but I think an 18-month contract, I think that's donut worthy.
Yeah, we don't know the difference between short-term and long-term.
That's true.
I have an announcement. I have a note from Richard.
Hold on.
Get my microphone over there, I guess. Yeah. I have an announcement I got a note from Richard Falk. I have no details in the message, but he did land. He has joined the FedEx supply chain as a business development executive. So any of you that might be interested in FedEx, we have a new connection contact with Richard Falk, F-A-L-K.
Fantastic. 2.
Congratulations to Richard.
Anybody else? All right. Oh, by the way, I forgot to mention, last week when I saw Jeff, I dropped off the card that everybody signed, and it was well received, and his daughter showed up while I was there as well, so she got to see it too. So thank you, everybody that participated in that. All right, now it's time for 30-second introductions. If you would, if you're online, as usual, pop your name, the city you're from. That's always fun to know. Your LinkedIn, email, phone, and position you're looking for, 2 or 3 target companies, into the chat. And if you want to, go ahead and put in a couple companies that you can help us with in terms of relationships that you have to help others. So here is the script. And if you would, we'll start with the folks in the room. William, you want to lead us off?
Don't have the Jeopardy music?
No, I tried that once or twice. Didn't go well.
I could have done it. Well, okay. All right, I think we're good here. Good morning, everybody. My name is William McLaughlin, currently seeking a data analyst role. I help companies do the research necessary to help them improve their bottom line. Currently looking for contacts at the Container Store and CoreLogic. Again, my name is William McLaughlin.
Who's next?
Good morning. I'm Ben Hoyt, your B2B marketing executive. I specialize in lead gen and demand gen and also team building. I have contacts in a variety of industries, given that I've been around for a while in this area, so I'm more than happy to help you out. Matt, I have contact for you at Toyota.
Awesome. Thank you.
I finally heard back from my sister-in-law. She's a new grandma, so she's been a little busy, but she said she would love to talk.
All right. You're my new best friend. All right. Who's next? Phil?
Hello, my name is Phil Young. I'm a senior financial analyst at CPA. I help senior management control their spending and keep it in line with budgets so that we have more money for raises, keep people employed. Again, my name is Phil Young.
Okay, I love that tagline. Oh, that's fantastic. All right.
Hi, this is Muthu Kumar Ganesan. You can call me Muthu. So I'm looking for IT infrastructure or IT service delivery kind of roles. So that's why I want to get connected with you all. Thank you. This is Muthu Kumar Ganesan.
My name is John Rodriguez. I'm looking for senior Linux engineer or Ansible type of roles. Again, my name is John Rodriguez. This is my first time here, so I'm just getting started. I've been out for 3 weeks. So my name is John Rodriguez. Thank you very much.
Welcome. Do you have any target companies we can help you
Nothing like
with?
that. I'm just starting. So
Okay. All right, we have 18 people online in addition to everybody in the room. So
Okay.
bring some targets next week so
Sure.
that we can get you hooked up.
All right, thank you.
All right.
My name is Tyler Bauer. I'm looking for a operations consultant, operations manager role. I help optimize processes rather than create more bureaucracy. And I have contacts at Capgemini, Blue Triton Brands, and Capco. My name is Tyler Bauer.
Thank you, Tyler. All right. Walt, you want to help me with the folks online?
Yes, sir. Okay, online, Holly,
Yes.
unmute yourself. There you go.
Hi, I'm Holly McDermott. I have a background in human resources, also in mortgage loans and relocation. Right now, I am looking for a HR position, willing to even do administrative assistant type work. I am limiting my job search to the Collin County area. So if anybody knows of anything, please let me know.
Thank you, Holly. Patty.
Hi, everybody. I'm Patty Bashi. I'm looking for account director, senior customer success manager roles at marketing research companies. I help the companies build better relationships with their clients and also help grow the top line sales. I am the sales farmer, not the sales hunter. I need contacts at Mintel and Ipsos, and I have contacts at Nielsen and Circana. My name is Patty Bashi.
Farmer, not the hunter.
Thank you, Patty.
Have you
Julie.
seen, Patty, have you seen Rob Becker
No.
in concert? If he ever comes to Phoenix, you need to see him. He usually plays in a theater, not in a typical comedy venue, but he's a comedian. And he talks a lot about the difference between husbands and wives. The husband being the hunter, he goes to the store, he gets what he needs and he leaves. And women are more gatherers. I'll let you
Aha.
run with that. It's so funny. I
I'll
laughed
have to
so
check
hard.
it out.
I went back to see him the next night because I missed half of it because I was laughing so hard along with everybody else. So Rob Becker, check it out.
Okay.
Okay, now Julie. Julie Cooley?
Do you want for coffee?
No? Can you unmute yourself?
Who did you say, Walt?
Julie.
Julie.
We'll come back to Julie.
Wait a
Hi,
minute.
I'm right here.
She woke up.
Oh, there she is.
I didn't hear what he said, so just that. My name is Julie Cooley. I'm looking for project manager, process improvement, and quality roles. I am very strong in relationship building, influencing without authority, and transparent communication to implement successful projects. I need contacts at Progressive Insurance, Sage Shore, and USAA. I have contacts at Travelers Insurance. My name is Julie Cooley.
Thank you, Judy. Jim?
Sure. Hello, everybody. I'm Jim Sinkovic. I'm a corporate HR guy. My most recent role is Director of Total Rewards at Vizient. I have contacts at Vizient. Looking for my next role as a director or senior director of Total Rewards or benefits only. When you're in Total Rewards, the goal is to make sure employees understand and value the rewards that the company is spending a lot of money on. And it's also to make sure that the rewards the company is offering are efficient, both administratively and financially. So that's who I am and what I do. I'm looking right now, I'm hoping to get into Workday. So that's my primary target right now. I have a lot of history in consulting. So if there's a large company in the area that you're looking for, maybe I know somebody at a consulting company that knows somebody there. So I'm happy to take a look in my network and see if I can help. So again, my name is Jim Sinkovic.
Thank you, sir. Kelsey?
Moving on.
Well, let's see here. I assume you're hunting for your mute button.
We'll come back.
Kelsey, we'll come back to you. Shilpa? Everybody look for your
Yeah.
mute button.
Hi, my name is Shilpa Tripathi, and I'm looking for jobs in human resource management, like the recruiter, employee experience, or anything. I just finished my undergrad from the Dallas College in here, and I am currently doing my internship in LSG Sky Chefs as an HR intern over there, learning a lot of stuff. I have my history like my background from India, 10 years administrative assistant over there, moved in here, worked in Amazon for quite a while. Now looking for get into the HR field. So if in case you guys have any contacts or anything in Valley Ranch, Irving, Coppell, Carrollton, I'm open for everything right now at the moment. Thank you so much.
Kelsey, I sent a note in the chat saying she's having difficulty with her audio. And she's looking for an assistant role. So you can see information in the chat. Don't you love technology? It's great until it doesn't work right. I understand that. Hi, Steve. Good morning.
Good morning. Hello, my name's Steve Clements. I'm looking for user experience, product design, leadership roles, either VP, director level. I provide consumer and enterprise design solutions. My superpower is taking complex business problems and making them human simple using design thinking and AI. I need contacts most recently at Bell Helicopters and UT Southwestern, so defense and healthcare. I have contacts in the consulting space, technology space. Connect with me, and if you see something interesting, I'm happy to help you. My name's Steve Clements.
Thank you. And our other Steve Rowan.
Hi, I'm a retired .NET developer, and so I'm not really looking for jobs at this point, but I'm a .NET developer. I could okay, so that's me. I'm Steve Rowan.
Steve always participating. Brad. Oh, Brad, there we are.
I'm back, sorry. I had to run and do something. You caught me while I was away. My name is Brad Yearwood. I'm always looking for building relationships. I like looking to build relationships. Obviously, I've talked about my new opportunity that I've taken up. So I'm not really looking for anything right now. I help, turn data into information for businesses to execute on. That's really my strong strength. I need contacts at Bank of America. If anybody knows anybody there outside of what I'll learn while I'm there. I have contacts at PepsiCo. I was there for 25 years. And PepsiCo is not just a beverage company. They do supply chain, they have HR, they've got everything. So it's a huge company. I also have a lot of contacts with consulting firms because I used a lot of them while I was at PepsiCo, and I'm actually going through one of those that I worked with closely at PepsiCo to get in at Bank of America. So I have a lot of contacts with recruiters. So if you need any help there, I can help out. Again, my name's Brad Yearwood. Thanks.
Thank you, Brad. Scott. Scott. And by the way, you can put some of this information that you're talking to us about in your introduction into the chat window as well, so that you got that information we had kind of went through an line for. Because people will be getting copies of this chat window later. They get the text copy of this file, so we can refer back to that. And so now to the person who is home of the Hereford cow and can speak English, Peter.
Good morning, everybody. Sorry my camera's off. Well, not sorry really. I'm been outside and I'm not fit for civilized human consumption this morning. I am Peter Watson. I'm Project and Services Delivery Management. Sorry for that. Got rid of that. I'm in Plano. I have contacts at Ericsson and Verizon. I also have a few at a small telecoms called Tempest Telecom. Their headquarters in California, but they do have roles in lots of places, including down in Capel. They have a warehouse and repair facility there. I'm looking for jobs probably with a smaller company. But I'm open to any size of company to be either remote or close to Plano. And my name again is Peter Watson. Thanks.
Thank you. Graciela.
Good morning. My name is Graciela Custer. I am seeking a digital marketing position. I help with strategic planning and which has contributed to timely communication and hyper organization. I have contacts with elected officials, political candidates, and political staff. I need contacts at Ethics and Public Policy Foundation, Competitive Enterprise Institute, and similar policy think tank groups. And I'll put this in the chat as well. And again, my name is Graciela Custer. Thank you.
Graciela. Rosina.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Rosina Gallman, and I'm your Career Tip of the Week host, as well as I am a job seeker. So I'm looking for a senior talent acquisition consultant or senior recruiter position. I help companies find the right talent to fit their open roles. Currently, I need contacts at Delta Dental, MetLife, and Cigna, yet I am open to any other industry possibility. And I've worked across many different industries. So I've a variety of contact companies. So I will, as I hear them, I'll definitely reach out to the people that I have the contacts with. And then again, my name is Rosina Gallman, Senior Talent Acquisition Consultant.
Thanks, Rosina. We'll hear from you shortly. Brian.
Morning, I'm Brian Jerome. I'm a supply chain specialist, scheduling, planning, inventory control, currently would like to find a contact at Maverick Power in McKinney. My name is Brian Jerome.
Brian, your name is spelled like my middle name, so we already have a common connection. Dion. Dion. I was curious as to why Dion's here. He entered into the chat that he's says his mic is not working, but that he is currently working. However, it's a good time to look for a job while you're still working and not waiting until you're out of work to be looking for a job. So glad to have you aboard, Dion. Thanks for coming. Did I miss anybody? Here comes Anthony. Thank you, Anthony. Our senior door monitor executive. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah. Everyone, my name is Anthony Autry. I'm a senior manager, operation manager. I'm happy to be here this morning. And I'm currently reassessing my confidence in everything. But I'm just happy to be here, happy to be looking for a job. Again, Anthony Autry.
Thank you, Anthony. And I want to give Anthony. Pardon?
I didn't get to go. I'm Scott Boudreau, Certified Planning Inventory Management. Looking for a supply chain job in central New Jersey or remotely, specializing in inventory control or production planning. If it has a part number, I can manage it. If it doesn't, I'll create one. Scott Boudreau.
Thank you, Scott. Did we miss anybody else?
Vitaly Platonov is here. I'm looking for a position of a supply chain manager, mostly in automotive or aerospace even. I am providing solutions of international and domestic transportation for completed vehicles and parts by sea or land transportation. My passion is to get work done no matter the obstacles are. I have contacts at Hyundai Motor America, and I'm ready for relocation. I'm Vitaly Platonov. Thank you.
Thanks, Vitaly. Did we miss anyone else?
Yes. Hi, my name is Meg Matthews. Hi. I'm looking for a position in HR as an HR generalist or a senior generalist. And I don't have an industry specifically, so I'm really open to companies that's in the North Texas area. And just wanted to reach out to anyone that might have or know of an opening. Thank you.
Thanks, Meg. Any other newbies online? All right. I wanted to give a shout out to Anthony. He's been our door monitor the last few weeks while the doors of the church have been locked on Fridays. And I just want to thank him for letting folks in and being late every day because of it. Hopefully we'll be back on track next week. All right. And now it's time for the Queer Tip of the Week. Rosina, take it away.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. All right. Hang on one second. So this week's career tip of the week is how to quantify resume accomplishments using easy formulas. So the guide that you're going to receive has a lot of different formulas and statements that you can use within your resume, outlining, or at least you can use to outline your accomplishments in a particular area and throughout your resume. So the article, again, will discuss the importance of quantifying resume accomplishments and provides a comprehensive guide on how to achieve this. It highlights that using numbers to describe achievements makes them more credible and meaningful to potential employers. The guide outlines 4 particular options that you can use for quantifying your resume accomplishments. The four are whole number metrics, percentages, averages, and ratios. And then when we're talking about whole number metrics, those are the sums or the totals. For example, resume expressed as a dollar figure, profit expressed as a dollar figure, total cost as a dollar figure, the number of transactions of goal completions, the number of transactions of customers, and etc. When we're talking percentages, for example, percentage of increase, percentage of decrease, percentage of satisfied customers, percentage of conversions, percentage of sales growth, etc. When we're talking averages, such as average customer satisfaction rating, average sales per customer, average days to sales winning a customer. And then when we're talking ratios, ratios are a way of comparing numbers and are often used to quantify productivity in your resume. For example, total sales or total hours spent, sales opportunities, closed sales, or number of leads generated ad spend. Also, you want to add in your performance metrics and formulas. The guide is also going to emphasize the importance of considering confidentiality concerns and tailoring the presentation of your accomplishments to the target reader. It provides additional tips on how to quantify resume accomplishments, such as being specific and clear, aligning with job requirements using varied quantification, and then being honest and concise, as well as using action verbs. The article delves into the specific importance of drilling down to the results of accomplishments and using the so what approach to uncover the bottom line impact. It provides a comprehensive list of performance metrics and formulas, and that can be used to quantify resume accomplishments in various areas, such as sales, revenue, profits, operational cash flow, customers, marketing, human resources, project management, and efficiency and productivity. I know that was a lot to say, and so just to give a quick example, under product management, there is 3 different samples that they list under there. One is on-time completion percentage. The other is budget variance, where it's planned or actual, and then project schedule variance. So those 3 for a project manager should be somewhere within your resume. And again, under all the other categories, there's a variety of different formulas and statements that you can use within your resume. So as a final reminder, I want to say quantifying your resume accomplishments is crucial for showcasing professional value and increasing the chances of landing a dream job. By efficiently using numbers and metrics, job seekers can demonstrate their impact and contributions to the potential employers. I hope you guys enjoy this guide and have a fantastic weekend. We'll see you back next Friday.
Thanks, Rosanna. We always appreciate your time and effort to the career tip of the week. All right. Mr. Glass, I'm going to tell us a little bit about your success workshop.
So what is the interview success workshop all about? It's a volunteer service that I do to help us basically make our job search shorter. And there's a lot of different things in the job search process. I was writing a book on the things you need to do in job search, and I'm up to item number 142. And I keep adding items all along the way. There's something else I learned that I have to do in getting a job. But one of those things is interviewing. So we do a lot of work just getting to the interview. And we do work in preparing for the interview. So how do we really accomplish the selling situation is what an interview's in. Everyone agrees we're selling ourselves. I define that myself, who we are, what we do, and how we can help them. So we combine who we are and what we do in order to achieve things. Companies don't hire us just to do it. Of course, it's a requirement that we can do the job, pass the screening test. I don't even call it a screening interview, an interview, call it a screening, but nonetheless, we want to be able to sell ourselves in that. So how do we do that? How do we accomplish that? So it's a very informal learning interview focused on those three things. And as a result of those three, selling that authentically, we will differentiate ourselves very positively from other candidates. So differentiation is key. Memorable is key. So how can we accomplish that? By selling those things. So you have to be registered to attend, and that QR code shows you, starts out an email that will say, here, just fill in a few blanks, send that to me, and I can get you scheduled. I generally have it Tuesdays on Zoom, 9 to 11 Central Time, and I do 1 or 2 people at a time. Kind of interview each other, I take notes, and then we go back through and we discuss. We're going to cover those 12 basic categories of questions, and approaches and suggestions, ideas and options, structures, and how we might respond to that category of question. So be glad to have you participate. Now, you also get a video of a handout. It's an hour-long video. It goes over some of the essential things in interviewing, differentiation, covers those items, and covers some other additional items about interviewing, thank you notes and things like that. They can also help differentiate us and make us more successful in the interviewing search. So be glad to have you participate. I call it learning without squirming. I would love to be the wind above your wings as I help you with interviewing things. You may ask what price that brings. It really is free or no attached strings. I'm not lying. You want to talk about the pit crew? You want me to?
Thank you, Walt. Go ahead.
All right, pit crew. So what's the difference between the interview success workshop, the pit crew? Well, we're looking at a mock panel interview for the Dallas pit crew. We're in person. It's at the address you show here. We're actually in that church today. It's on Wednesdays, and it starts at about 1 o'clock. We go about 1 to 3. And Ron Layton leads that group. And we have about 3, I think the last few weeks we've had at least 3 different candidates each Wednesday, and 2 or 3 panelists for each one of those. And then the rest are observers for watching those panel interviews. So you send your resume and job description to dallaspitcrew@gmail.com. Say, I'd like to get scheduled. If you go to dallaspitcrew.com, it's a website, explains everything about it. You can look at the details, information there. On the 4th Wednesday of the month, we do online. That's to allow people that are not in the DFW area to also participate as a candidate. We don't do one person. And of course, you can observe that one as well. So I strongly recommend that once you learn how to sell yourself and understand that and can practice that a bit, you can come show that in the mock interview at the pit crew. So I'd be glad to have you participate for that. So just send that in to the Dallas pit crew. It's a great organization, been around a while.
Thank you, Walt. All right, the lunch report. Today we're headed to Jason's. If you're in the room, you want to join us for additional networking. Yes, William?
Question about the pit crew. I heard that it's booked all the way up through October. Is that true?
I know that he's booked over a month out. Okay, so yeah, and actually I'm into October, not I'm into middle of September with the workshop. So the theme is practice early, practice often, and so now that the demand's picked up, get on the schedule. And if you get a job before you come to the interview, we will excuse you. You do not have to participate.
Thank you. All right, so I hope to see you Jason's after for more networking and some good food. All right, and now on to the main event. Our own Walt Glass is going to talk to you about the job description. By way of introduction, Walt retired in 2012. His IT career spanned 40 years. He spent 25 years with electronic data systems in a wide variety of roles, including systems engineer, analyst, manager of leadership, training and development, account manager, and a member of the special mega deal team focused on winning accounts greater than $1 billion in revenue. Is there anything you can't do?
I can't do technology.
His industry experience includes financial, retail, manufacturing, and state government. He also spent several years as a consultant developing IT requirements for clients, and the last 10 years as an account relationship manager serving over 40 colleges and universities in Texas with IT services. Most importantly, as the developer of the interview success workshop that you just heard about, Walt currently volunteers as an interview success coach, helping job seekers gain knowledge about the skills to sell ourselves and the abilities to positively differentiate candidates for successful job interviews. He has coached over 1,000 people with interviewing skills. He also represents several interviewing topics to multiple job seeking groups. And no introduction for Walt would be complete without a poem.
Just remember, you might inherit this right.
All right. You ready? There once was a man named Walt, whose IT career had no halt. From systems to sales and wild consulting tales, he's the coach who will help you exalt.
Thank you, Matt. You have to add that to the point list. I appreciate that very much. Today, one of the things we work on in preparation, of course, is the job description. And so I want to do a deep dive into job descriptions today so that we can just kind of not peruse them and kind of look at them and then go to the interview and say, well, what is that? What can we learn from the job description? What is going on in this world with the fact that there are companies that have more job descriptions than employees? There's job descriptions that are not correct. They last forever. I've seen two different job titles on two different executive level job titles with exactly the same job description. And those jobs can't be the same, right? So there's a lot of things going on with jobs. So what can we learn from them? How can we do that? So if you have a question, all you have to do is put it in the chat, and Matt's going to monitor the chat so that we can make sure to get those questions. And you can interrupt me anytime or in the room, and that's fine. So the microphone's right up here for you to use. Be glad to have you interact because I'm going to ask some questions. There's no tests, but there are some things that I'd like to learn from you as well. So let's skip all that. Let me come back to sharing the screen here.
Need to switch PowerPoints.
Yeah. Let me get back to okay. Get back to my PowerPoint. All right. The job description. I told you that technology would beat me down. So let me ask you, for those of you that have been in job searching for a while, you've dealt with job descriptions. What is your experience? What information do you have that says, here's kind of what I learned about them, or maybe there's a bad tale about them, or here's how that, what can you share with us about your experience with job descriptions? William's trying to say first.
Too many of them are misleading.
Okay. Others?
And I'll pass it.
I think it depends on the company, on how strict. Like I have one company, USAA. If you don't meet almost everything, they're not going to even look at you. But other ones you can take a chance on. So I've heard contradictory information. One career coach said, oh, you better meet 90 to 95% of the job description because the job market is so tough. Others say 65 to 70. I say be bold because at the end of the day, what really matters is not only your skill set, but do you fit into their culture and the relationship building. So it can't hurt if you think you are really qualified for the job and, it's a little bit of a stretch. I applied for 2 jobs that I thought was a stretch and I got interviews with both of them.
There you go. So we're going to talk a little bit about that too. So others, by the way, we switched computers. I'm not Matt.
And I'm not Walt.
10.
But they are entertaining. I've found job descriptions on both sides, some that are way too wide,
for what the job is to figure it out. Some that are so specific, I don't think you could be an expert and walk on water and
Right.
get a job on in there.
Right.
So, they get frustrating at times to take a
Yep.
look at. And some ways, as you know, General over here was saying, are just a little bit deceiving when they go through there.
Right.
There always seems to be something else in there called and other duties as assigned.
Right, right.
So that throws you.
Well, you know, the job search not only can give us some information, but it can also generate a questions list from us, right? As we look at these things and say, like, I like more details about those particular items and that sort of thing. So, yeah, there are some job descriptions. You've heard the people say, you know, God already has a job. He's already working in it because they got out. So we call those wish lists. All right. They're always looking for everything they could possibly get, which nobody can really meet. But yep, that happens. Okay. So the kind of the tone is we don't trust job descriptions. They have to be validated. They have to be verified. We have to figure out if that's, you know, truly it. So we can ask questions about the job description. We'll talk a little bit about that. So what questions do you have today that would you like for me to address about job descriptions? You can put them in the chat or you can just mention them. Phil, find the microphone.
I think I'm going to pick back up on points people have alluded to. When I look at a job description, what's really important? I mean, you know, especially the longer it is it like, do you really want all 12 things equally? Are there 3 things that take priority?
Right.
You know, it's kind of like we talked about before, is knowing how to code in SQL nice to have, or is it a critical priority?
Right. Yeah. So that generates a question. When they got a list of things, you say, gee, where do I spend my time? What % of my time do I spend doing this? And so even in interviews, when I see skills, competencies listed at the top of a resume, I will look at them and say, which one of those are your top 3? Where do you spend your most time doing that? So I'm looking at your experience to say, oh, I spend all my time at A, B, and C. And I say, interesting. You spend your time in D, E, and F. All right. So those guys, so we like to find those guys. So that generates a question. So yep, there's a lot of things that can be asked with that. Anything else?
Julie online wants to know what percentage of the job description should you meet before you decide to apply?
That's a nice anticipatory question. I'll talk about that in a little bit. It's coming up. Good question.
Steve wants to know how much resume modification should you make based on supplied job description?
20%. Oh. Well, you have to really look at you have a generic resume. All right. And just to talk about resumes briefly, the master resume. Okay. Plenty of details, plenty of bullets and things. Then I say, okay, job description. What's the first thing that we want to make sure matches in the job description versus our resume?
Title.
The title. All right. And so, you know, I worked for a company for 10 years. I had 3 different titles and same job. All right. It was like different companies buying. So I was a customer success manager. I was a customer relationship manager. I was, et cetera, et cetera. So moved into the development role, sales, et cetera. So title is going to be very important, but you want to look and think. So I may have 4 bullets under a topic. All right. Here's something I did. And I got 4 bullets under that. I might say, I'm going to put 2 bullets in this application or in this resume, and I'm going to prioritize them. I might change the order of them so that it matches. And so it's a smaller resume than my LinkedIn profile, but it's consistent. It's very consistent. So that's how I would say, to answer that question, to match. Okay. But we don't kill ourselves if we try to generate a resume for every job description. It's just too much for us.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to find the balance on, Walt, because I could end up changing the job title to match, or my resume title to match the job description, but it might be work that I did, you know, that's further down my resume. So I didn't know if your last employment wasn't necessarily directly specific to that exact job title, does somebody end up saying, oh, well, they're not being truthful or something like that?
Yeah, I can understand that. So how do you match in that element, in that particular part of your resume, things that do match? Okay. And so you might not have exactly the same things, but you can look and say, all right, what is it that? Because people will look at our resume and find reasons not to select us, right? We spend an inordinate amount of time trying to match keywords and all that. Now we need to do that, but at the same time we say, okay, what matches? So you can put that item there. You can do a functional resume. You don't have to give it in particular in order. And then you can mention other things at the bottom as another opportunity. So without getting a whole lot of details in the resumes, just ask 10 people, you'll get 10 ideas on how to handle that. So different ways to do that. Anything else?
I have a question. Yeah, can you hear me now?
Gotcha now.
Yeah, I'm just curious how you would handle internal job description versus external. If it's posted internally, you're trying to apply.
Okay.
Like how you would engage the recruiter differently.
Okay. Would you write that one down for me so I can make sure I cover it at the end, please, Matt?
You know, when you go online, sometimes you see a job description that's relatively short, and then I've seen other ones where you go online and the job description goes endless pages. Is the one that's too short a red flag? Because if it is the other
Yep,
one.
we'll talk a little bit
is that
about
a red
that.
flag?
Yeah, we'll talk a little bit about that.
Okay.
Yeah. Glad you asked. All right. One more?
Hi. Actually, I have a question. You said we need to match that resume title with the job description or something like that, but it's practically not possible, right? For example, you worked at one company, one title for 5 years or 10 years, then you are applying for it. One or two companies may match the exact title you want, but how do you cannot change it as well. Technically speaking, if you give experience certificate, it will show the different title if you make any changes.
Well, the title I'm talking about is the title at the top of your resume. It's not the job titles for the jobs that you've had.
Okay.
Are we on track there, right? And so you would change it. Who knows about the titles on LinkedIn? How you can look at job titles on LinkedIn? Anybody? Well, there's the thing, when you go on LinkedIn, you put in job title, they have a whole list of job titles somewhere. I should have found out more about that, where to find it. But it says when you use them, you want to use LinkedIn's job titles because people will find you with that job title easier than if you don't have that. And like I say, what's the correct job title? They're all different. Look at HR job titles and look at how they've changed.
Working in the management role, the responsibilities, something. But the title will be known as a principal engineer or something like that.
Right.
Chief engineer, something like that, then it doesn't make any difference or something value add to that specific job. For example, you've been dealing with some program management or project management, but the title given as a kind of a principal engineer role title.
Yeah.
So if you made it in your resume, then it makes any sense for the specific project management job.
Well, the question is, when you look at their title and you look at the definition of the job, is that you, regardless of the title?
Yeah.
And then so now we're just playing with titles. Okay. Yeah. Like I was saying, you know what? What's the new title now for HR? They don't call themselves an HR. What do they call themselves? What are some of the titles? People development.
Talent acquisition.
Yeah, talent acquisition, not recruiter. I mean, and so they continue to change all the time, with that. So the whole main point is, and I don't want you to spend a lot of time being found. I want you to spend some time being found, a lot of time finding. But one of the things you want to put in order to be found is you want to match that job title so you can have that. And you can go into LinkedIn and change that job title for a while, okay, whatever, to match that. And that's just to help in the being found. So does that help? Okay, it doesn't solve the problem, does it? It's a challenge. All right, let's go on through some stuff. And if I don't cover that during the presentation that you talked about here, I will certainly I'll have Matt talk about the one of the internal versus external. So let's take a look at the job description. Just a few reminders here. How are they broken down? And of course, there's no standard format for these job descriptions, but usually you get some sort of overview or a summary, some description, some purpose, something about the role in there. Then you get the responsibilities and duties. They might say responsibilities, it might say you will. And then they've got a list of bullets underneath what that is. Then I have some qualifications. You've got to have certain education, got to have certain technical skills, and they'll list that. And that comes under, sometimes they'll say you have, all right, this knowledge and skills. Then they have the preferred list. And so there's a required section and then a preferred section. Not always, but in most cases, the larger companies use this a lot. And so what are the preferred qualifications? So, all right. So when we're looking at matching our qualifications to theirs, how many are in the required section that match and how many in the preferred section that match? All right. And that can help us make a decision there. And then about the company. And so they'll have a disclaimer at the end. They'll have an EEO statement. They'll have something in there to talk about equal opportunity, et cetera. In the bottom. So all these things have to go through legal for the larger companies. There's a lot of work that goes on in creating a job description, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. So it is a corporate governance document, right? And producing a job description or changing a job description is the last item on the to-do list. It is low and it's hardly ever done. And it's a difficult process to do and do soon. So if you need to get somebody hired and you need them right away, if you have to wait to go through the process that some of these companies uses just to create the job description, you can't wait. And so you've got to do something in between. And so we'll get to some of those shorter job descriptions in that situation. All right. And so HR for the larger, this is more for the larger companies. HR says, oh, I got to have certain standards here. I got to have things defined. I got to have things similar. I got all that sort of thing has to be done. So the HR does a lot of the work of the job description. And I think that a lot of times managers are saying, HR, you produce my job description, rather than HR manager, I'll produce the job description and then you run it through the process. Okay. So I worked for a company where HR was an advisor to management. They didn't do anything. But they said, uh-oh, you got to watch this, and they would advise us. But we could not put the responsibility onto HR to generate it. We had to generate it ourselves, all right? So management was responsible. You had a problem, you didn't send them to HR. You talked with HR to figure out how I was going to handle it as the manager, all right? It's quite different. Not many companies are like that. Anyway, so we got to look and say what's going on. Well, the last section is usually the one that the hiring manager says, hey, I get some input here. I got some flexibility. I got to meet these standards and all the other things. But now with this one, I don't. All I have to do is say, all right, let me put this area in there, modify that. And it might generate a question to us. Who generated the job description? Who was involved in that? What was the process of doing that? So let's talk about the vague half page or maybe page less than a page, not very much on the very vague versus, the detailed. Well, sometimes the purpose of the vague is it is a methodology. They're going to say, look, we want tons of candidates. I'm going to be pretty vague about what it is. And then they can come back and tell us what they've got on there. And then we're going to select from that. And so they want to use. Now, what would a smaller company do? They might like a lot of people to inquire. And smaller companies, when they're not very good at writing job descriptions. They don't even have an HR. They don't have that sort of thing. So they'll write something up, to have that and say, okay, but we'll just see what goes on. So it's kind of a funnel game. They say, oh, let me deal with the numbers and let me go through that process. And I don't think that exists very widely, but you've seen these vague, short job descriptions. It could be the case where we're in process of writing. We got to get something out there so I can start getting some candidates to come in. We need somebody now. It's always interesting. They need somebody right away, and then they take forever to make a decision in a process. I said, now, what's wrong with that process? What's going on in this world, right? That doesn't make sense. All right. Now, a lot of times they're out of date. I think I mentioned earlier, 3,000 employees, 4,000 job descriptions, right? Multiple titles, same thing, all that. How many of you have been involved in updating a job description? Anybody? 1, 2, all right. I mean, it's not very many people that are involved in the process about, to even update it and keep them updated, right? Let me ask you this: on your computer, how many files do you think you have that you need to delete? All right. This process of going back and let me do some housekeeping and clean that. I got plenty. I just buy a bigger computer. It has a lot more space on it, and I just keep going, right. So it's kind of fits into that category, right? So I know one time I spent a whole day trying to clean up my computer, and I did a lot of stuff on it. And I looked at the stuff that was rest to do, and I said, I'll wait till next year to do that. All right. Yes.
Some job descriptions don't seem to have been written by the section or the division of the person doing the hire.
Okay, job descriptions are written entirely out of the group that's paying hiring. Is that what he said? That was the question. All right. So those of you that are online. So yeah, who writes them? Who's involved in doing it? We'll talk a little bit about the creation too. So we'll get into that pretty quickly. Now, since you have this, a lot of stuff that the larger companies or even medium-sized companies have, they say, I've got to really specify things in an order that I have a pay range for that. And so a lot of that says we got to keep to the pay range. And so I want to make sure we're consistent with the pay range and the details. And so as I go from job to job and I create pay ranges for that, I have to make that the same. So there's a lot of stuff that goes on there. It's like, I like to write a job description. I send it to HR and say, fix it if you got something else to do, but this is what I'm looking for, and work with them. All right. So who's been engaged when an opportunity, when there was no job description? You didn't have one. You might have gotten a call and say, hey, I got an opportunity for you. You have no job description. What have you done in those cases? Anybody want to volunteer? Any experience?
Yeah, you just ask as many questions as you can, and usually you're not going to get any answers. That was my case in a startup. They didn't have a job description. I knew it was with a larger company, but it was for a startup,
right.
Startup group, and they couldn't tell me about the work. They hadn't even hired. I was the first employee, and they hadn't even hired a my manager hadn't even been hired yet. So just have to go on gut at that point.
Right. So startups are pretty chaotic, in the hiring process. And the approach there is they're looking to say to us, what can you do for us? That's the basic premise. And so we can go in and say, well, give me a little information. Where are you headed? What are you trying to do? Ask some questions, and then say, now here's how I can help make a difference. Yeah, and you'll see that. And plus, we get calls from recruiters that say, hey, I've got this job opportunity, and you don't know anything. You don't know anything about the company, the job, the people, whatsoever. So how do we handle those kind of situations? Well, I'll talk a little bit about that. All right. So what do we do? Well, we research. If we have time, and particularly if somebody calls you and say, I'd like to talk to you about this or schedule something, you would say, I'd be glad to do that. Could we schedule that and try to schedule it out a day or so? Find out the company name, find out something so that we can do some research before we have the discussion. All right. That may or may not be successful, but there's an opportunity to give us time to look for something. Sometimes we don't have that. It goes everywhere from a recruiter saying, answer these questions, they write them down and they hand it off to somebody. They don't know anything else. So one of the questions I like to ask recruiters is, how long have you been a recruiter? Right? 3 months. Okay. That tells me a lot, right? 5 years. Oh, okay. Now that tells me a lot too. Just remember, recruiters don't work for us. They don't work for the company. They work for themselves. All right. It's not. Now they're going to focus on the company, all that. So find out similar roles. So when you're looking for a particular job and the company comes up, maybe we can say, all right, let me look at these job descriptions for 3 or 4 or 5 of them are the kind of job that I'm looking for. And let me see if I can pick out the common things that are inside of that role generically, so that I might ask some questions about those common things to find out a little bit more about the company, all right, and what's going on. All right, so find the common stuff. And then, of course, we can ask for clarification. Good morning, Walt. This is Fred. I work with so-and-so, and I got a great opportunity for you as a customer relationship manager. Would you be interested? I'll say, I am definitely interested in it. Can you tell me more about the details of the job? Can you tell me any more details about the company? Can you tell me anything about the hiring manager? Can you tell me who makes the hiring decision? And you know, and I don't, you know, shoot them all at once. But I said, well, what can you tell me to get started on this? Give me some background of some kind, right? And that's pretty natural. I don't think a lot of us already do that. I don't think I'm telling you anything new, but get some clarification and do some work before the interview. And then in the interview, we can ask these questions. Give me an overview of the job. Tell me a little bit about the job. What are the expectations? What are they looking for? All right. And then prepare your questions. So there's role-specific questions about the job itself and the role. What are the main challenges? And how can I contribute? What are you looking for me to contribute to this role? And then the company and team questions. What do you know about the culture? How does the team work? Culture is 2 things. There's a vision, mission, values. There's a process that we do. So it's not only we have this kind of integrity is one of our values and culture, but it's also how we work, how things get done. There's a lot more into that, because you got great vision, great values, great culture. Then I take the job, and guess what? It's an interminable process to get anything done here. This is not for me, right? So I have some questions there. Now, here's the question. Yes.
Julie would like to know, in what situations does a job not have a job description?
Well, when a recruiter calls you and talks to you about a job, you don't have anything. That's situation 1. Other situations are they're creating the job position and they don't have one, and so they got an eye and they bring it in. So there's 2 situations. Are there others? Does that answer your question, Julie?
Brent says, hey, I know of a job. You don't have the description. Here's the title.
Yeah, his title. All right. So let me ask you, because the question was asked, how much does the job description match me in order for me to pursue, right? What does it look like? So how many of you think it's A, B, C, or D? So how many in the room, and you can look up, if you would, the A, B, C's, D's on the chat for me. How many think if I match 40 to 50%, I'm going for it? Okay, we got 1. 51 to 60. We got 3. 61 to 70. 4. I think that's everybody. And then over 70. Right? Now, everybody has an opinion about this. And so this is Walt's opinion of this. Phil, got the microphone?
Sure. Online, we got A's, C's, and D's.
A's, C's, and D's.
One nuance I would add to that is what I think are the priorities for the job, because it's like if they're looking for certain things, I mean, if I'm sitting there going, I think these 4 things are like 80% of what the job requires, I'm going to go for it.
There you go, Phil. That's a great, I'm glad you mentioned that, because we're going to talk just about that exact thing. Great. I'm glad you mentioned. Good question. Would you please turn my phone on? Thank you. All right. So here's what I think. There's some risk below 50%, right? And 51 to 60, well, there might be a chance there. Yeah, if it's over 60%, I'm going for it. And of course, if it's over 70%, it's a no-brainer. We can check. So this is my general idea. So how much risk do you want to take? So I'm going to ask you this. What are the additional elements we consider just besides the matching percentage on a job description in our resume to go after a job? And Phil, you mentioned something. What's the important things of the job? What it looks like, the main ideas, like the main part. I can do that, but there's some other things that are in there. And so if I find out that the other things are the main part of the job, that's not a fit, but I got to go find out. So I pursue it, right? So what other things would you might want to consider to say, and I see the percentages, but there's some other factors that can come into play that says I ought to pursue this job.
Yeah.
Tyler?
I would just say if you have a referral.
A referral. There you go. Right? Other factors. Penn?
Oftentimes, I shouldn't say oftentimes, but I've been seeing on some of the job descriptions where they get into, you know, you got your descriptions of here what you have to have, and then the preferred things on there. If they've got the board in there, I've seen highly desirable background in X industry.
Right.
And if you have that, definitely jump on it. But if you don't have that, they're basically saying,
right,
in my opinion, they're basically
Yeah,
saying.
yeah, that would fit, that would fit under the required section, right? And say, yep. So certain languages, CRM systems. All right, there's 3 or 4 CRM systems out there. Okay, there's different ones. And you say, well, while I don't have experience in that CRM, all I gotta do is learn how to navigate a system because they're all very similar. So I wouldn't let the fact that I haven't used that CRM system be a reason not to pursue that job, as an example. Anything online?
Location.
Okay.
Not salary, title, and percent of travel.
Okay. All right.
And
So,
money.
yeah. Oh, don't worry about the money. They don't talk about that on, well, they do. Some job descriptions do have a range. You know, all federal jobs, government jobs usually have a range, in their job descriptions. But if you look at the ranges, they go like 50,000 to 150,000. Right? Or they might have California and New York. Here's the range for California and New York, and here's the different ranges. So they have the different ranges. But yes, that. However, how far out of range does it have to be for you to say, I'm not going to pursue the job? Maybe we can pursue the job and get them to say, I got to go get more money. Right? So we want to look at that and say, don't let the salary, don't let the money stop you from pursuing a potential job that you want and a potential company where you want to work. And so I say the 2 major elements: is this your target company? Is this the one where you want to work? Is this the one that's really you're dying to get into? I'm going to go interview. All right. And I'm only 50%, but guess what? I might be able to find something else or get in and do something immediately. So that would just, I don't care about the percentages. I can still do a lot, and I can find some things out. But if they selected us, there's got to be a reason they selected us. And you look at it and say, well, I look at the job description and I don't match all of that. And one person was talking about, said, well, I noticed that you have this. It's, oh, don't worry about that. We don't do it that much of the time. And whatever we do, we'll handle that. And they took that requirement and pretty much said, why'd you even put it on there? Right? I used to ask people as I was helping people write job descriptions in my leadership development days, internally to the organization. I said, all right, why do you have to have a college education? Why do you have to have a degree? Tell me, what's the reason for you to put that on there as a requirement? And if they couldn't tell me why, I said, take it off. You're just writing it down. You don't understand what it means. What does a college education mean to me as I was hired? You've accomplished a significant goal, right? You set a goal, you did it, you went through it and you did it, you gained some knowledge and everything. That's pretty significant. That's a great accomplishment. But it doesn't mean, oh, how many project managers were there to put a man on the moon? Certified. None, right? And so, I may not be certified, but they're going to look at it and say, oh, let me use this crutch to say, if you're not certified in this, you obviously can't be a project manager, right? So I said, we'll see. I would say, let me go in and tell you my experience as project manager. Does that make sense? So if this is a target company, I would go because I want to get in the door. I want to talk to somebody and they say, okay, well, this doesn't match. Is there somebody else in the company I can talk to? It's interview experience. If they, if you came in, you had to pass something on the I do side. On the, it looks like you might do some of this job. But it also is an indicator of the organization. We're going to look at that as well. So how many of you have been involved in creating, or we talked about this a little bit earlier, or editing a job description? How many people online? Any yeses online? We got 3 in a room, I think.
Yes, I have.
Okay. So who was talking?
I have.
Okay. Who said first that they had?
Steve did.
Steve?
Especially in the technology space.
All right, Steve, tell me, how'd y'all go about creating a job? What was your involvement? What was the process?
If I was not a subject matter expert in the role that we needed, I would talk to people internally and find out what they were looking for, and I would typically create a draft or have them create a draft and work together to get something that we could share with HR, or also reference other good industry definitions of those particular roles and just modify those existing job descriptions to what I needed.
All right, anybody else had experience
Me.
with that? Okay, Patty, I'm
So
recognizing.
I've been a hiring manager for a couple of different roles when I worked at Nielsen. And so I was given a job description by HR. I would look through it and I would say, update it to what I was looking for in the role. And then they would go ahead and, update it and then post it out and then get me the resumes to review.
Okay.
But I was the one that looked through it and said, I want this amount of experience or qualification or whatever, right? So
Okay. So you had significant involvement in creating that job
yes.
description, yes. Okay.
Mhm.
All right. So here's a couple of ideas about that. Here's a generic approach. This is my dream world. This is the way I think it should happen. Others may have different ideas. Well, first of all, okay, we got this job and it's going to be new. And we got to figure out to write a job description. So who's involved? We got to get HR involved. We got to get managers in that area involved. We got to get the recruiters involved. We got to get employees that are familiar with what that job is about involved. We got to get all the stakeholders that will be affected by somebody doing this role. We want to try to get them together. Now, how successful are we just doing that? How hard is it to get a meeting with 3 people today? 4, 5? I mean, it goes up. It's asymptotic. It just it's harder to get. It's 3 times as hard to get 5 people as it is to get 4 people. All right. So it's just difficult enough just to do that. We got a team for it. So now, what are the activities? What do we want them to do? How long is that? What percentage of time are they going to spend with this, right? What are their duties? What are their responsibilities? So they're responsible for, so you'll see that in some job, they're responsible for this. And it's usually responsible for, and it's all I do, doing this, 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 and this, and this. So it covers that. What authority level will this person have? What kind of decisions can they make? Can they make pay raises? Can they do salary? Can they not? Can they hire? Can they fire? What's their responsibility for that? So get all that down. So here's the authority level. Now, we got to have this. So here's our essentials. Here's our required. What is it that we just got to have? And I'm saying, now look, if they don't have one of these, we're not going to hire them. Is it really one or is it a preferred? And we got to start discussing whether it's absolutely required or preferred, right? And then what are their technical? And let's look at their soft skills. What's their culture like? Does it look like I need this kind of person? Do I need, finance? Don't we need somebody that's detail oriented in finance, right? That and project management. Is this a higher level? Do we need some strategic thinking at this higher level? Where do we need the strategic thinking? So we go through all of those things and put that. Is there a specific education that we want them to have? Now, I hired a lot of people into EDS when I was working for EDS as system engineers. They were programmers, programmer analyst type roles. Guess what their previous job was? Air traffic controller. I don't know if you remember, but there was a downsizing in air traffic controllers several years ago. This is dating me. It's been quite, this could be 20 years ago. I'm not sure how long, probably maybe longer than that. And so I was hiring air traffic controllers. Did they know programming language? Nope. But what did they know? What did they have? Guess how they worked. Do you think they worked well under pressure? Do you think they were highly organized? Do you think they took the job seriously? I mean, that's kind of person I'm looking for. And if I can say, look, I'm bringing you in and I'm going to train you on the rest of this stuff, you know, if you're interested in doing that. And I was highly successful. Guess what? Psychology degrees, very successful as programmers. Isn't that interesting? You go back and look at all of our programmers and look at their education, you see psychology, it was a lot of them pure up. And so I got hired, and one of the 10 questions they asked me was, do you play an instrument? I said, well, I took piano lessons. Then I asked him later, he says, we have found that people that are involved in music are usually make pretty good employees. Now, I can't connect those dots, right? I'm not sure why or what it might be, but in music, but they saw that as important. But yeah, all those guys could play a guitar, sing, or whatever, but not me. I can sing, but the bigger the choir is, the better I sound.
Patty pointed out.
Oh, Patty, if you need to know something, ask Patty. If she doesn't know it, she will give you an answer within 2 minutes. Patty is great at that. Thank you, Patty. Yeah, so maybe it was 40 years ago. Yeah. Tells you how old I am.
Thank you. Reagan.
Who's Reagan? Yep. If you can name the last 3 presidents, you're probably above average in answering that question. All right. So the preferred qualification. Now, you want to know how much fun it was. The rest of it was easy. And when we got to the job title, it was a mess. I mean, it was all over the map. People wanted job titles, so we just messed with that. Anyway, so you get the job title. Then you have to add the legal language and do that, have HR and legal go through and say, okay, you got to do this. You can't say that. You can't say this. Say it this way, what it might be. And then be sure and leave it in the system forever. All right. And so we would do that. We had our salary organization go through all of the jobs, all the job descriptions, all of the people, and compare salary. We were looking for equality with salary. Was there an imbalance? Or women paid less? We were looking at, this was years ago. It says, is there anything we need to do to get this right? Yeah, and that. And so we go back with that. So we would look at the job descriptions then and say, all right, what do we do with salary? Make sure we're doing the right things. Now, here's what I think happens in the real world, and you can tell me if I'm wrong or not. So generally, we're HR driven. It's not the manager. The manager said, I need somebody with this. Can you start me off or give me a job description? They rely on HR to do that. HR will do more editing than defining that. So they get some information back. So now we start editing and putting that together. They may work with a hiring manager. Sometimes it's very different. HR is a thankless role. Training. HR and training are the 2 most pressured groups. Whenever downsizing comes, training and HR, that's where it hits first, all right? So when you see people leaving in those, then just put your name on the list here. Here we go. But they do a tremendous job in trying to help us. But sometimes it's using a crowbar and pulling teeth to get information out so they can do the things that they want to do. Now, 2 or 3 years old, sometimes they're hard to update. There can be too many of them, and some of them are too long. I call them wish list, Pen. You got 4 pages of stuff, and you look at it and you say, how does a person do all of that? Well, if it's executive level, you say, yeah, I got a staff to do that. I got a staff to do that. I got a staff to do that. Well, do you really expect me to do it? If I'm responsible for it, that's one thing. But if I have to do it, that's another thing. So what does it come? So they can be extremely detailed. And sometimes the federal stuff is longer and got a lot more requirements and stuff in there in federal jobs and state jobs. All right. So the agency recruiter is usually not involved in it at all. They're not going to help those job descriptions very much in it. But they do have, or possibly will do, an intake document. So they ask questions so that you get the information to them and then they can start picking out candidates from that. So it's a starting point. The job description is a starting point. It's something we can get some information from. And when I say, oh, okay, how does it look? How does it match it? How do we move forward? So I do. I help model in the interview success workshop, studying who we are, what we do, and how we help. So how do we match that? So here's a project manager job description. So I'll put it up here. And so I said, I'm going to go through this job description and all these soft skills that are listed, I'm going to put in red. All the action items and things are the I do's. And then the I helps are things that they say you do this kind of activity in order to ensuring that I said, okay, there's an I help. So I'd like to identify all those, because if I look at all the I helps that they have, now I can start going back and say, okay, I need to prepare content, stories, stuff that I can demonstrate that I've helped do these things. That's what they're looking for me to do. That's it. Those are my priority list. All right? It's my starting list of the things they're looking for me to achieve and do. Okay, but not like the guy who said didn't work out. They got to rewrite the job description. That's not what they're looking for. But you start with that and get that information. And so I just go through it and do that. And that's part of one of the things I do. If you send me a Word job description for the interview success workshop, I'll run through this analysis for you, and I include that as one of the things I give you as part of the workshop. And I request it that way. And if you send me a PDF, I'm not going to go try to convert and do all that work. You send it, make it easy for me to do it for you, right? And so look at all the I ams. So let's talk about these. Lead. A lot of lead, you'll see that, for managerial role, lead, all the way through it. So those are pretty obvious, right? But multitasking, you see that multiple projects occur, that's equivalent to multitasking. So how much do we multitask? Well, the last job I took, they asked me, I'm concerned about your multitasking. I went from one very large client and customer, lots of money, big budget, people, etc., to an individual contributor role, right? Big change. And I said, you're overqualified. You won't be doing that stuff. And I said, thank God, I've done all that. I don't want to do that stuff. Here's where I want to focus my time and everything. So, but how do I multitask? So do we have examples of multitasking? How many projects do you work on at one time? That would be a question I might ask to validate that you are a multitasker. But a lot of interviewers don't do it that way. You never know sometimes where the questions come. Coaching. Let me talk about coaching briefly. Coaching is an I am and an I do. All right. I am a coach, meaning I have the ability and skills to help people through coaching. What do you do as a coach? I coach. So it's kind of an I am and an I do at the same time. So when I'm looking at it and say coaching, well, I want to talk about some of the coaching skills that I have, in addition to the fact that mentoring, communicates effectively and consistently. Thank God we're all excellent communicators. It's always in the job description. Sound judgment, critical thinking, leadership, sense of urgency. Now, sense of urgency is usually not listed. It's one of the few times I've seen that. What company do you think does not require a sense of urgency? It's pretty common, right? We have to do that. So now I go to the I do's. And so here's all the things I said I do. So the job description is full of I do's. It's got a lot of them in there. So I'll highlight all of those. Here's the things that I do. Then here's the I helps. And so here is something that ensures project deals meet or exceed stakeholder expectations, corporate quality requirements are produced on time and within budget. All project managers have to meet things on time within budget. But here's other things, all right? Exceed stakeholder. So tell me, what are some of the expectations that I would have in this project on these projects? What are they looking for as I question? But yep, that's me ensuring business solutions delivered on time. Oh, they made it twice. All project managers do this. And so it's very unusual not to see that in a project manager job description. But we can't just rely on meeting projects on time and on budget as the main thing why you should hire me, right? Because we all do that as project. Who's not a project manager in this room? You're all project managers, right? Everything you do is a project. You've done it all your life, right? So doing the dishes is a project, right? Do you use the sink? Do you use the dishwasher? I'm good at making decisions on which to choose, et cetera. All right. Ensure successful deployment of product or service. All right. External launches. All right. So I'm finding out what I do and also how I can help in that. So you put them all together, you got all this color chart that comes out. So what we want to do with it is say, okay, here's the I ams. Here's what, so let me list those so that when I'm now preparing for an interview, I'm gonna say, okay, I want to make sure I demonstrate these in this interview. I've got this list. This is their priority. What are your strengths? Well, among other things, and I'm going to use some of these. Of course, they have to match us, right? And so I want to do a little timeout. Critical thinking is a key word for me, and it's kind of a hot button. If I ask you today, define critical thinking, I'm not sure how many of you would say the same answer. It's, I kind of know what it is. I mean, I even get the answer is, during critical times, I can think, all right? And so that's not what it really is, right? But I've gotten that answer before. So let me just spend a couple minutes just on critical thinking. Question, if a tree falls in the forest and no one hear it, does it make a sound? So you get yes, no, or I don't know. Yeah. So how many in the room say yes? Okay, how many say no? How many doesn't know? Okay. Well, critical thinking can answer that question for us. So I'm just using this as an example. Yes, in physics, sound is a vibration that propagates through a medium. And guess what? In human physiology and psychology, it's the interpretation of those waves that creates sound. So there's two definitions of sound in play. So which ones? So rather than just say, yeah, no, we're going to do our research. We're going to look it up. We're going to find out, what does it really mean to do that? And not only that, but there are sounds out there that we can't hear. There are frequencies above and below us that we don't interpret. Dogs can hear things we can't hear, for example, right? So that's what we would do to find out about, well, let me just go research and look it up, all right? So it's an analysis of a situation. We're using facts, data, and evidence. So we're not going to guess here. We're going to try to find things. So it's to be done objectively. Problem here. I have my opinions about everything. And so let's take a poll, a political poll. And so here's the poll and here's the results. I have questions. Who did you poll? How many did you poll? Oh, we didn't poll Michigan. No, we don't ask them, because we know they're going to. So a lot of this stuff is, I'm going to use the statistics for my benefit. And so there's huge bias in those kinds of things. So we want to remove that, right? So we don't want to be influenced from our personal feelings, opinions, or biases. That's pretty hard to do, right? So how do I talk about that in an interview in critical thinking? If I wouldn't even ask an interviewer how they define critical thinking, because I don't think they know either. So I wouldn't want to put them on the spot with it. But I can talk about it in a situation. So, well, with this problem, the first thing I did was I made sure what the problem was, that I'm not trying to solve a symptom of the problem. The problem-solving process. What is the problem? Step one, right? Now, what information do I need in order to help me answer that question? Where do I go look? What are my resources? What information do I have, right? And I have to evaluate it. Can we trust ChatGPT's answers? No, we can't. Everybody kind of understands that you have to validate that. How many of us are validating our GPT answers? Not very many, right? There's a few, right? We should be, in other words, do your own research. Get started, but all right. Curiosity, open-ended questions. Open-ended questions are a great way to remove bias and say, well, don't you think you ought to do that twice? How many times do you think you ought to do that? Or what's your opinion on how you might proceed to do that, or that kind of thing? Identifying our biases and then making the emphasis, meaning, here's all the data, here's all the information, I got it all ready, here's the decision I'm making with that. So I would talk about curiosity, I would talk about identifying bias, I would talk about how I determine relevance to the data. I would talk about those things to demonstrate that and understanding about critical thinking. All right. And while I'm at it, emotional intelligence is another one. So this is the longer time out than I wanted, but it really means I can read other people. Now, this is a challenge that I've had for many years for doing that. But what is it about them? Showing interest in them. It's just like in informational interviewing, or when you meet somebody, you talk about them and you show interest in them, find out about them, where they come, all that. So how can I read others? And then we adjust our behavior. So we take assessments. People have these assessments. Why? So we know how to communicate in their world. That's the power of the assessment. At least it gives us a start for that. All right. So that's about it on emotional intelligence. But a lot of companies are looking at emotional intelligence as the primary skill for success. And it's coming up more and more. Awesome. So then here's all the I do's. And so, yeah, you provide coaching, guidance, and mentoring, and there's the cross between I do and I am. I am a mentor. I'm a coach. Well, I have skills in doing those things, all right? So all the I do's. And then here's all the I helps. So I got my list, and I'm kind of prepared to say I've got it broken out. I know the things I do, and I said, I need to ask some questions about the I do's, the priorities, how much time, et cetera. You travel, define 50% travel. I got this, okay. Oh, that's 6 months in India and 6 months in Georgia. So, what does it really mean? So questions about that. Now, here's my suggestion is take a job description, put each requirement in a matrix. I'm an analytical person, so this fits me. Not all people are analytical. This might be some other way to do it. But here's all the requirements in each requirement on the left side. Each soft skill, one line. Every single, it's all broken down, very, very detailed. What is my experience with that? How do I meet that requirement? What's the value add in doing that? So I've done these kinds of things, but what was the value? When I did them, what happened as a result? Okay. And this is old one of mine, actually, that I'm using. And so I've got a library of star stories. What's the star story about this requirement? So I would love to have 3 or 4 requirements show up in one story. Not a story per line, but a 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 stories that I can start saying, this story indicates my persistence. It indicates my ability to understand others. It indicates my, whatever it is, and it shows that in the story. So break it down, very, very detailed. So we're going way deep into this, right? Well, there's another thing. I started adding this just recently, and that's culture indicators. What does a job description tell us about their culture? And so what are the potential indicators that can be found? So I'm going to open up a file. Get the right one. All right, project and implementation specialist job description position. Is there anything in the position statement that anybody sees that could be an indicator of culture? Tyler, get the microphone.
A new and innovative is part of culture. And then
Okay, that's under the job responsibilities. Yes. So moving down to job responsibilities.
and then contemporary customers, then also remotely.
Okay. Okay. All right. Any others have any suggestions on what a culture indicator may be? We can't assume this is something that says it's a small window of what this company may be like. Have you ever looked at a job description and said, let me see what the culture is based on how they wrote the job description? Probably not. But that's one of the aspects we can look at. So we look at what is it telling us? Okay. How about job qualifications? Do I see a culture indicator? Anybody online?
Strong focus on customer service.
All right. Focus on customer service. What company do you know has almost their major objective is customer service? Anybody know? It's called Amazon. Anthony had it. They are the most customer-centered or oriented customer. Okay. And Bezos has 14 leadership principles and it's all about customer. And he added 2. So let me add 2. So he has 2 more for internal, for employees, make it a best place to work, that kind of. Right. So that's a very, very high culture there. All right. To learn new things. So they say we're always looking for that. How about on this section? Any culture indicators there?
Very Texan.
Patience, flexibility, and the ability to effectively problem.
All right. So there's kind of some soft skills in there, but they're looking for this flexibility thing. So I wonder how flexible I need to be, right? And for those of us that had jobs that report to everybody, like HR, finance, accounting, training, the internal jobs and all that, we serve everybody. And everybody, everybody's our manager and boss. And so what does that mean? All right, flexibility. All right. And of course, some competencies. And so there's some great things to talk about, but I don't see anything there. So what I did see, when I came up with something like this. All right, work remotely. So it's a remote job. What does remote maybe indicate culturally with us?
Kind of flexibility.
I'm sorry.
No flexibility.
No, flexible, all right. And I wonder what 50% means, all right? So it generates a question as well. But this on-site travel, what it's telling me is that we do what it takes to serve a customer. Implementations, we don't do them remotely. We do them on site. So that means there is a customer focus with that. Embrace new and innovative ways. I hear many people say, I like to learn. So do you like learning job search? Well, maybe not that one, but learning, all right? Innovative. And so it has a culture of innovation, right? Someone mentioned this, shaping as an effective and modern provider. So the image of the company. So I'm going to operate a culture that results in seeing others, to the customers that we are this kind of person, we're this kind of company, all right? Strong focus on customer service, we talked about that. New challenges with a results-oriented attitude and a sense of vision and purpose. So that brings up questions. What is your vision? What is your purpose? Or saying, I saw your vision and it was this, and I saw your purpose or your objectives goals, I'll stay in this, all right? To learn new things and evolve. So we're a forward-thinking company. We want to keep up with the changes that are happening on a daily basis. So there's a culture indicator. So that's just a little bit about taking a look at the culture aspect of it. All right. This particular topic is one of 13 topics that are out there and recorded online. These 13 topics were recorded when COVID started by Mark McDonald and myself about interviewing. And so Jeff Morris asked us, and so, since we can't meet, then can we do this? So we came up with 13. It's not a 12-step program, it's a 13-step program. This one's called Analyzing the Job Description. So these first 5 are about preparing to interview. These are about what you do during the interview, and these are some other topics, crashes and little touching on individual interviews and the informational interviews, target company, et cetera, like that, so that you can go out there to look. Now I've edited and I've updated and done the thing for today's presentation. It's very interesting. This was a team non-collaborative effort. And I could cause some questions. What do you mean? Well, Mark said, okay, here's the topic. Here's what I'm going to say about the topic. And then I said, okay, here's what I'm going to say about the topic. And then we put it together. And so he did his part and I did my part. So you got kind of 2 things. 95% of it was duplicated. And we didn't spend a lot of time with that. We were on match. But it was an idea of saying, well, instead of getting together and just, but why don't you just share your experience and I share mine? That way, because I love people to have different interviewers come to the pit crew, get more opinions, not just mine, about the feedback, things like that. So that's how we prepared those. So where do you find them? Well, if you go out to YouTube channel, Career USA, and you look at playlist to this website, I'll take you right to it. It's actually on the careerdfw.org website. You're going to get a handout if you participate in there. Matthew, one of his thankless jobs is to send out all the information to everybody that participated, as long as we can read your email on your sign-in sheet and that you included it in the chat window. But if you click on view full playlist, you see that? It'll come up with this. And so here's your 13 series. You can see they're several years, they're about 3 years old. Still a lot of great information. And you just scroll up and down to pick out your particular topic and which one you want to listen to. Okay. You can also look at the number of views. You say, gee, what is everybody looking at? 348 views here. 440. You can say, okay. Anyway, so that's how you can find those if you want to. Questions?
The question earlier from
Oh, internal and external?
Yeah.
Okay, so restate, give the microphone back to Tyler. So Tyler, you can ask your question again.
Yeah, so I have a situation at the company I work at, and we get like these email blasts, and they have like an open positions listed, and I thought one of them might work, so they said send the recruiter an email, get the job description. So I just wanted to see, you know, how you would address that, and maybe politically too, so you don't get yeah.
Well, what are your ideas and thoughts? I'll get input from the group first.
If I saw a job description, if I saw a job like that, I'd try to find somebody else in the company who had a job like that. And then talk back, then send her an email. And then send her an email and talk about how.
Sneezing is not allowed during comments.
Okay. Thank you, I'll remember that. Then send her an email and talk about how you meet, you know, certain requirements without telling her how you got there necessarily. And then that way, when you ask for the job description, you're already leaving out that you've done a little more research rather than just, you know, send in a canned response.
Okay. Other thoughts? Why not go for it? So here's an approach. Sometimes when you're looking at things, you say, should I do this? And then I say, well, why not? Analytical me, pros, cons, pluses, minuses, risks, you know. So I go through this process of doing that. And of course, everybody doesn't do that, thank God. But nonetheless, yes, I would say, if we look at companies, how do they fill positions? Where do they start? Internally. I'd rather not have to go through all this process to hire somebody if I got somebody inside, all right? Well, what the neat thing about that is it leaves a hole somewhere else, all right? So they've got to go fill that position, whatever. But yeah, very often that can occur, that they'll see if we can't find somebody inside that knows somebody. And it's not unusual. What's the risk? Would I go to my manager and say, hey, I'm very interested in this position and I'd like to inquire about that. What do you think? I don't kind of want the manager to see me as trying to get out and, you know, see it being negative. Because I'm putting now, if I leave, they have a problem. And so I want to, you know, be considerate about that. So I'm looking for that. And sometimes managers get together and talk and says, well, you can have him, have her, you know what, but here's what we got, you know, there's a way to get there, kind of figure out a timeline to transfer you so that it's a win for everybody. So I would suggest an approach perhaps like that for internal. What do you think? They want you to learn and grow. They want you to be promoted. I love to promote people inside the company. Also need to hire people from outside to keep us from inbreeding, but at the same time, yeah, here's an opportunity. In fact, is that one of the reasons you might have joined the company? It says, I'm not going to do this job forever. I want to move up, move to different roles, different responsibilities. Any others?
Yeah, the question about the point Julie made regarding mapping some of the requirements into her cover letter, I thought was a good idea. But my question is, how many hiring managers or evaluators are looking at the cover letter to begin with? I mean, on one, yeah, I
You're
thought it was
right.
56, but
That's a great question. A lot of recruiters, I mean, we had a recruiter talk to us, and whenever a recruiter talks, we just have to remember they're talking from their recruiter process, not everybody's. The majority do not read the cover letter, from what I understand. That's what I hear. We don't read it. Is there a problem in sending one? Is it going to hurt you to send one?
Yeah, no,
So send it. Those that want to read it, read it. Those that don't, don't. You got it covered. We're trying to help them with a cover letter saying, you don't have to read my whole resume. Here's a short, here's a one pager. There's a guy named Jack Bick. He is a job search coach. He used to live here and he's living in Florida now. He has a one-page resume. One page. And it's designed to generate a phone call. So one of his clients used it and said, Jack, it's not working. And he said, what happened? I said, well, I've had 2 calls say they need more information. Duh. All right. So he has an outline for that. And it's a subset of his resume. Right? If you take it, it's a long one. It's just a one pager. It says, why create 2-page resumes when they're only going to read the top half of the first page? Right? So that's his philosophy behind doing that. But yep. Okay. Other areas, are we done? Can we go eat lunch? All right. Well, thank you very much for participating. Letting me participate, speak to the group.
You're getting some love in the chat, by the way. Yeah.
Love in the chat's great. I'd rather have a hug, but I'll take the love in the chat. Thank you.
There you go. Thanks again, Walt. That was great. All right, just to wrap things up.
Say something to the group.
Absolutely. We have a microphone.
Yeah, pass the mic, Tyler.
So,
Turn it on.
meeting, Mike.
It's on now.
Okay, so I've known Walt for a long time and I participate in this group for quite a while. What I wanted to bring to you guys is kind of what happened to me. If you're looking for a way to generate some cash flow and have flexibility to do your job search, school is about to start. Go substitute teach. You do not need to know anything about any of the subjects in particular. Most of the time, you're just babysitting the class for the day. You can pick what days you want to work, half days you want to work, what subjects you want, what schools you want to teach at. It's very awesome from the standpoint of putting some cash in your pocket and having total flexibility while you do your job search. It is not hard. So 3 years ago, my company was sold. I'm a CPA by career for over 40 years. My company was sold suddenly. I had teacher friends that told me they needed help. I went and did it. Within 2 weeks, the principals identified me as somebody they wanted to hold on to and start offering me long-term sub jobs, which pay almost $230 a day. Regular sub jobs are $120 a day. I took a long-term sub job with the idea to do that for 3 months, and then I'd be doing my search along the way, and that was 3 years ago. My dad was a teacher. I've been around it. I actually started my college career to be a coach and a teacher, so been around the environment, but I got tremendous satisfaction. The pay isn't great, but the people who are teaching, the vast majority of them have great hearts and are there for the right reasons. And so my CPA friends question me why I'm doing it. I tell them 3 things. One, it's often frustrating because the kids these days do not have good manners and do not respect the adults. It's often very rewarding because oftentimes you'll be able to get through to a kid who previously wasn't getting anything done. And that is very cool. The other thing I tell my friends is it is never boring, never. I have more stories to tell than I ever have. So I personally have had a great experience in my late 60s, so I'm not looking to kill myself in a deadline-driven accounting environment if I don't have to. And this gives me great flexibility because the school district paid for me to get my teacher certification. And I just accepted a job to be a full-time teacher. I'm in special ed, so I don't have the 30 kids per classroom deal. Which, you know, they're paying like 62 or 3,000 a year. So if you want to be semi-retired, it's not bad. So if I can help you in any way, connect you with the right people. They are desperate for not only subs, but long-term subs. School starts next week, and a lot of the schools in Plano have been left without fulfilling all their positions. So
Thank you.
give it a shot, see if you like it. If it isn't, you know, I hate to see people coming to all these meetings day after week, and they gotta be having cash flow situations. Here's a way to easily put some cash in your pocket.
Appreciate it.
And-
And it's a networking opportunity.
It's a networking.
There's a lot of people in a school.
Yeah, all the teachers' spouses aren't teachers.
Yep.
So, there's lots of pluses to it.
Thank you very
In addition to
much.
the fact you're helping quite a bit, so.
Thank you very much. That's great.
Hi, Matt. I'm actually interested in that substitute teaching positions. How can I reach you for this?
On LinkedIn, I'm under Michael Warriner, Warriner, CPA. Michael Warriner, CPA.
Thank you. I'll go ahead and do that. Thank you.
Thanks again. All right, I'm not going to cover the website. Walt covered that in his presentation. So coming up next Tuesday, Ruth Lipsky is going to talk about LinkedIn tools for job seekers on LinkedIn Tuesdays at 1 o'clock. On Wednesday, we got the practice interview team that we talked about in this very room next week at 1 o'clock. And coming up, sir.
Guys, practice interview live here every Wednesday. There's no more Zoom.
There's Zoom on the 4th Wednesday.
Okay.
All other Wednesdays are in this room. All right, and upcoming sessions, our own Patty Bashy is going to talk about Crystal Knows, which if you don't know about it, pun intended, it's really cool stuff. You can use it to analyze the personality of somebody on LinkedIn to better prepare for an interview. You can actually get to know the person you're going to be interviewing with if you have their name and you can find them. Really, really cool stuff. And then the following week, Rusty Wright is going to come talk to us about using ChatGPT for job search success. If you haven't seen it, really, really good presentation. Now I have a question for you guys. About 3 months ago, I gave a presentation on tips and tricks for job seekers. Would you like to see that again here in a few weeks? Or is it too soon? You haven't seen it? Okay. Anyone online have a opinion either way?
Yes, I'd like to see it.
Okay. All right. We will schedule that 3 weeks from now then. My second
Yes, that
question.
was excellent, and I missed a lot. So, I mean, I'm sure I could get more out of each time you present. That was very helpful.
All right. Thanks, Scott. Second question is, when I first did it, there was a lot of audience participation. And so we actually went over 2 sessions. Was that too much? Or would you like me to consolidate it to 1 session this time?
I think the too much.
The too much?
It's got too much information. It's worthwhile.
So 2 weeks or 1 week?
2 weeks.
2 weeks? Okay. All right. We will do that. So the next 2 Fridays after the Chat GPT then, yours truly will present tips and tricks. I'll look forward to that. All right. And just a reminder for those in the room, you want to join us for some more networking, we're headed to Jason's Deli. All right. Thanks for joining us today. We'll see you next week. Have a good weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
You all very much. Have a great week.
Bye, Carol. Cheers. Bye.